Mindset Revolution with Raquel. Get ready to be transformed. Welcome to Mindset Revolution with Raquel. I'm so happy that you're here. This is going to be an amazing conversation with Mitchell, who is a global credibility expert. And I want to tell you a little bit about him before we jump right into this amazing conversation. He's a global credibility expert. He's a two-time TEDx speaker, an international bestseller author of over 60 books. And he's very young, and I was thinking, is he going to write another 60 books? An executive coach at Marshall Goldsmith's 100 Coaches. After interviewing 500 thought leaders on credibility, he published a 7-country international best-selling book, delivered a powerful TEDx on humanity, created courses, and created the Credibility Nation membership community to help those live, learn, and surround themselves with others on the credibility journey. He's an accomplished entrepreneur who has created 20 businesses in Silicon Valley, including 4 publishing companies that have published over 750 books. He's provided strategic consulting to hundreds of companies and has been the chairman of a board of a NASDAQ-listed company. Welcome, Mitchell. How are you? I'm so happy that you're here.
I'm happy. I'm happy I'm here too. Thanks for having me.
Earlier in our pre-chat, we were talking about there's so many interesting things that Mitchell has put his hands in many cookie jars. But one of the things, of course, is the credibility issue. And I have a lot of, people who come into my sphere, into my universe, and almost everyone is about transformation. They're transformational coaches, whether they're doing spiritual work or energy work or some, very specific, maybe even left brain kind of things. In their heart, it's all about serving someone else. And as I'm scrolling our internet, as we all do on TikTok and on Facebook, I'm finding more and more people are really having this pull to start their own business, or they've started their own business, but they don't really know how to create that blue ocean. Because of the coaching, mentoring, strategy realms, there have been a lot of people who've been burned. And so they're like, okay, I don't want to come across as someone who is like them. And one of the main things that you can do is to really create this sphere of credibility around you. But then how do you do that? So I'm going to leave it to the expert, Mitchell. Go ahead and take it away. How does somebody really start creating this blue ocean of credibility that will allow them to really stand out from the noise that's happening in these realms?
Well, I love the use of your word and your question. But let's make sure I define it and understand it. You said, how does somebody go about creating a blue ocean of credibility? Tell me what you mean by that.
Well, everybody talks about having a blue ocean, that you create this pocket where you stand out from everybody else. And I really believe that everybody has that anyway, because everyone's made for a purpose, on purpose. But a lot of people don't know how to really leverage their gifts, leverage the opportunities that are available on the internet in the right way in order for them to be able to connect with the people that they're called to serve. And so I know personally also a lot of artists who've had more talent in their little pinky than most people have in their whole bodies, but they don't understand the business side. And because they don't understand the business side, the world does not know about them. And they end up being, quote unquote, starving artists. There is a side of the business to the creativity, to the creative, to the one that is called to serve as well. And sometimes people don't understand that you're not being salesy, because sales is serving, but there is a way for you to do it in order for it not to be icky to you. And also having to understand this is part of serving people, understanding that there are things that you need to do to put yourself out there in a way that when people see you, when they run into you, they're like, oh, yes, there's a trust factor there. Let me pause and listen to what they have to say.
Got it. Perfect.
Perfect.
Thank you. So what makes somebody credible and not credible? So here I am, expert on credibility. The host of the show asked me a question. And my first question is, I don't understand the question. Tell me more. Did that make you feel that I'm any more or less credible? So one thing I'll ask you is make sure when you're talking to somebody, make sure you understand the rules of the game. Make sure you understand a common language that you're both speaking in the same way. And I would say in your response to your question, there's probably at least 6 or 7 different questions I can answer. And so let's focus on where my mind leads me at the moment or where my heart leads me. And let's first start with a common language. We're going to talk about the common language of credibility. So one of the things that I had done is, as you mentioned, I interviewed 500 thought leaders on credibility. Which gave me a really interesting opportunity on humanity, really interesting opportunity on what works and what doesn't work, what's successful and what's not successful. And it was fascinating to me when I realized that the definition of credibility is fairly straightforward. And let me share it with you so that you can understand. Credibility is the quality in which you are trusted, the quality in which you are known, and the quality in which you are liked. So it's trust, know, like. And you mentioned even in your comments the importance of being trusted. Trust is the fact that a lot of it is about integrity. You say what you do what you say, you're authentic, you're vulnerable, you're coachable, right? The being known. So being credible is more than just trust. Being credible also is that people actually know you, that they understand your intent and commitment to do the right thing. As you mentioned in your talk, that you are a servant leader and that you have internal integrity, that inside who you are, you're exactly who you say you are. And the last piece is being likable, right? Being likable is as simple as showing respect for other people. It's as simple as, when appropriate, sharing your stage. And so credibility is the quality in which you're trusted, known, and liked. And when I initially heard the word blue ocean, I love the concept because there's a book called Blue Ocean Strategies. So I wanted to make sure that I was tracking that appropriately. One of the things that happened in the world is that there are people who, are you ready, call themselves experts. For those who are listening to audio only, I'm doing the double quotes, fingers in my hand. And experts, in many cases, are people who may have tried something a couple times. They may have found a formula that works, and then they make an incorrect assumption that the formula that worked on somebody is going to work on you. And subsequently, they propagate, and I'm going to call it, in some cases, dubious behavior. Dubious behaviors are things that are not in your heart, that are not comfortable for you, that you don't want to do, but somebody is telling you need to create a huge ocean of opportunities, that you need to be the one and only unique person solving this problem and nobody else can do it. And I'm going to say that's hogwash. That's silly, right? I think as you mentioned, Raquel, we're all unique. We're all unique in particular ways. We all have talents. We all have ways to serve. To me, one of the most relevant aspects of being credible is being a servant leader. And if you're of service to others and you're providing value for others, you need to get paid appropriately for that. And the thing that's interesting is we're taught that we start a business and we need to be huge and we need to serve the world. And once again, I'm going to say, let's define the world to be those people in your sphere of influence that are appropriate for you to serve, right? So if you have a physical business, your world may be a block or the building itself, or it may be a small geographical area or a zip code, right? So unless you're doing a business where you're shipping products, in which case you have a much wider audience. So what I'm going to say is, who do you serve is probably the most important thing. Who is that audience that you want to serve? And the best way to think about it is, what is that pain point you address, or what is that pleasure point you address? And if you could define that, one of the terms that I use, Raquel, is a term called CPOP. CPOP is an acronym for Customer Point of Possibilities. And what I'd like people to do is I'd like them to be able to articulate their CPOP, their Customer Point of Possibilities, in 10 words or less, minus 6 words, right? So let me share with you my CPOP. Businesses increasing ROI with operational credibility. When you hear that, what you should be asking yourself is, oh, that's a very interesting playground, Mitchell, that you play in. Is this something that you want to potentially join because you might be a prospect? Or is this something that you may have the desire to recommend me to somebody else? Well, the most natural question when you articulate your CPOP is tell me more. And so when you do the tell me more, that's when you could do the 30-second elevator pitch or the value proposition. But we're trained. One of the things that are you ready? My double quoting again. The experts are telling us that the first words out of our mouth, if somebody says, "Who are you? What do you do?" is your 30-second pitch or your value proposition. And I'm going to say, architecturally, this is propelling dubious behavior, because when somebody says to you, "Who are you and what do you do?" the truth is they're not actually, let's see how to put this in a polite way. They don't really care about you and what you do. What they're asking you is, who are you and what can you do for me? Okay. And so if you could respond in such a way where it doesn't sound salesy, this is where CPOPs are really cool. It's who you serve, and what either pain point you address or what pleasure point you help deliver. If you can actually sound in such a way where you're actually sharing the playground that you personally like to play in, then the person who could be a prospect, the person who could be a referring partner, is going to say, "Tell me more." And that's when you could talk a little bit more about what's next. And so credibility, to me, is knowing you. Is to be a servant leader to others, you have to have been a servant leader to yourself. Know who you are. Know where your superpowers are. Know what you're excited about. Know what you love doing. Know how you like serving others. And then be able to articulate or start a conversation in such a way where somebody says, you're in essence inviting somebody to join you in your playground, right? Either as a prospect or as a referring partner. And when they say, "Tell me more," now they have an interest in learning a little bit more. And that's when you could share something. But once again, I'd encourage you on the tell me more to do it a minute or less, right? Because what happens when you first start exchanging or interacting with somebody, your people are making decisions. Do I want to spend more time with this person? Are they interesting enough for me? Are they credible? Right. And there's so many ways to do that. And the shorter you could share who you are and how you serve, the easier it is for the person to not only see what playground you play in, but make a decision that they want to spend more time with you.
I love this because I always tell people that clarity is power. And if you cannot explain something to a child of what you do, then you don't know it well enough yourself. I know, like, sometimes my children, they like, they'll ask them, "What does your mom do?" Like, "I don't know. She helps people." She helps people. She's like, they always feel better after they talk to her. I'm like, well, that's pretty good. At least you know what the result is.
Raquel, that's a really nice way to be known.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She's like, she helps people. They're like, I don't. And they're like, well, how does she do that? She's like, I don't know. She talks to them. And then they feel better, and then they go do whatever it is that they need to go do. And I'm like, yeah, that's not too bad at all. That's not too bad at all.
I love that.
There's so many things I would like to unpack with you. I know that you one of the questions I had for you was, why do you say that credibility starts with clarity, and without clarity you're not credible? We kind of touched on that as well, but I want to reemphasize that people make it too complicated. It's like the thing, right? Keep it simple, sweetie. And especially like if you're on TikTok, right? People's attention spans are getting shorter and shorter in some ways. You know, that's because they kind of want to be entertained. But it's that thing of being absolutely clear of what you're supposed to be doing in this season. I did a podcast not too long ago, and it was called Monetize Your Reason for Being. And it's really taking the Japanese concept of ikigai, because then it helps you to see where your sweet spot is currently now in your season and get some clarity on it in order for you to, because there's a lot of people who want to be entrepreneurs, but they don't know where to start. So that's like a really great way for you to hone in and get clear of your gift cluster, of what people are looking for, and all these little intersections, but it provides clarity. So we could dive a little bit more on that, because I don't think that's really emphasized enough. People say, yeah, get clear. You know, they have all these things with the questions with your avatar. But it's really, it almost seems like it comes across as a checkoff list. Just do this and do this and do this, instead of really slowing down enough to understand why it's so important. And if you can just get super clear and attach that to who you are, the amazing impact that you can have on other people.
Ooh. So you just said something. You and I have had a conversation before. I am still putting my arms around who you are and how you show up. I think I had a good feeling for that. And as you were speaking, your CPOP popped into my head.
Yeah. Yeah, what is it?
Do you mind if I share it and we can talk about that?
Oh, please. Let me be your guinea pig so everybody knows how fabulous you are.
Yeah, it's definitely a component of what credibility is, because it really is very beautifully. I'm going to say who you serve, spiritual entrepreneurs. Right? Okay. And then you just said it, and I'm like, oh, that works. So I put it in chat so you can see it. I'm a visual person. I like to see it as well. But for you, I'm thinking your spot is something like spiritual entrepreneurs monetizing their reason for being.
Oh, that's totally who I am. That's how they come to me, so they can get some clarity, so they can get some strategy, so they can, get out of their own way. So many people are they're just in their own way. And a lot of people, the reason they come to me is like, I'm confused. So they come to me confused and they leave happy. They leave with clarity. They leave relaxed. They leave with peace. And they're like, oh, okay, yes, I got this. I'm like, yeah, you got this. Go, little bird, fly.
I love that. Now, can I tell you what you just did? You just answered the tell me more.
Oh, that's good. I'm gonna go back. You know how if you ever seen sermons, the preachers or speakers will say, "Oh, that was so good. I'm gonna get the tape myself."
So what clarity represents is in a short time frame, 1 to 3 seconds. You can echo why you're on this planet at the moment. For Raquel, spiritual entrepreneurs monetizing their reason for being. The most natural thing, if you fit in that category. Like, so what are you going to say? Am I a spiritual entrepreneur? I haven't made money yet. Yes, you are. Right? So now you can actually do your time based on that. Or what do you mean monetizing my reason for being? Once again, you just answered that. Right? And so what happens is we've been taught that we need to cast a wide net, that we do this and that and this other thing and these other things. And the more we do, the better opportunity that we can catch something. And then of course, my clients, my prospects are going to see us, and or they'll see me, and they want to do business with me. And the thing that's interesting is as a business person, I'm going to tell you the best way to get this. The absolute best way of getting business. Go to your friends. They already trust you. They already know you. They already love you. Right? Well, no trust like. Now, let's say you want business outside of, or you're ready to expand outside of those people who already know you, that they already trust and like you. Well, the best way to do is to get referrals. Well, how do you get referrals? You make it simple for those people who already trust and love you to actually share you. How much more simple is it than to share something that is 7 words, 6 words, 4 words? So that's what I'm saying is clarity. Sorry about that.
No, it's funny because in my world, whenever you hear beeps or bells, that means that was important. Pay attention. So I'm just like, yes, that was important. Pay attention.
Yeah, so I just say that the clarity component is being able to articulate not just for the audience that you're serving directly who gets attracted to, but the referral partners, the people that they actually know. And I think probably the best advice that you give when you meet somebody new, one of the things that happens that can make you feel sticky, or sticky? No, wrong word. Icky. One of the things that you can do to make you, I was trying to go back to a word you use. I combined both sales and icky and came up with sticky instead. So one of the things that people do when they get into a networking meeting that makes them feel icky is they're trying to sell, right? Well, don't. What I would say is when you get into a networking meeting and you're talking with somebody else, the best thing you can do is think of that person as a potential referral partner. Right? It's kind of simple. If you think of somebody as a referral partner, you're not speaking to them as you want to sell them something. You're speaking to them as something they could do to recommend to others. Because if you are as good as your kids say you are, Raquel, there are people who I want to recommend to you. Right? Well, wait a second. It's a spiritual entrepreneur monetizing their reason for being. They're not really doing that yet. They're feeling really yucky. Maybe I should introduce them to Raquel, right? And you've just, even in this conversation, now we've talked before, and I loved you in our previous conversation, but you've made it easy for me to want to recommend you. And so if you want to feel not icky and talking to somebody else, think about them as someone who might refer you to the next person. It is always, many times I've done this, with somebody said, well, I know you're talking about people in my network, but Mitchell, I think that might be me. Can you and I talk? Right. And then you go, oh yeah, of course. But then guess what? You're not selling. You're having a conversation, about your superpower and how your superpower might be relevant to the person you're talking with.
I'm in an urban setting, so I turn off my mic. So if you hear a second, like, did she jump off? No, I just turn off my mic and turn it on. If you hear background noise, I'm in Chicago. That's just the way it is. Which is, I always tell people that should encourage you. There's many people who want to start a podcast. And I was reading statistics and they said, those who start don't have 10. And from those who go past 10, don't have 20. So the pool is actually very small. And people think that they have to have all this stuff to get started, because if there is this drive of wanting to be excellent, yes, be excellent, but start where you are. And as you increase, then you just get better stuff. But in the meantime, use the resources that you have, because if that idea is planted in you, it's for you to do, and just believe that those things will be multiplied on the way. So somebody needed to know that. So I forgot. I had an idea in my head. Now I forgot where I was going to go with that. I'm sorry. I've been having brain farts. The last 2 days.
I think for that particular one, what happens is there are things that we've been told to do, right? And I'm going to say, don't do something that you're just told to do.
Yes.
Do something that's in your heart that feels comfortable. And don't worry about, I think what you're getting at is don't worry about being perfect. Because the truth is you'll never get there. So in order for people to see, you need to interact with them. Get excited for them and with them. You need to share who you are. And a lot of people feel that having a book is the best way to get credibility. And I'm going to say having a book is a great way to get credibility, not necessarily the best. Depending on who you are and how you serve them. Having a podcast is a great way to do this. Running a survey. You know, when I interviewed the 500 thought leaders, I originally started because, are you ready? I wanted another book. My 65th book. Okay. And actually, at the time, I might have actually written one or two books in the middle of doing the interview. So it might have been my, so it was my 65th book. And what I ended up getting is something so beyond. In doing the research for the book, I ended up getting a life purpose. And so the value was the 100 people I was interviewing and the knowledge I gathered as I was learning and growing. The same value, but the time to market can happen with a podcast. As you're interviewing your learning, you're growing. And you may be interviewing people who are potential partners. You may be interviewing people who might be potential clients, right? And you may be interviewing people who can refer to your clients. What a great way to expand your network is to have a podcast. And once again, you don't need to be perfect.
No. I love what you were saying about the sales process, because that's really where people get a hiccup in my space. They learn all these things and like, I just don't feel good about that. And I'm like, then don't do it. I'm with you. Don't do it, because it's going to come across inauthentic anyway. They're going to pick up your hesitation as though maybe they might misread your hesitation of, you might be feeling, I don't feel good about this, but this is what I'm trying to do. This is what I've been told to do, and I'm trying to serve them. And they might misconstrue that as you're not authentic and you're just in it for the money. So the message that you have inside can come across completely corrupted and corroded. And that wasn't your intention at all. That wasn't even in your mindset. You're just trying to figure out, how do I articulate what I do? But if you shift, I'm a mindset person, right? If you just shift your mindset, it's like, oh, this person I'm talking to, it's a great potential for referrals. Then it's like, oh, it's almost like having a coffee chat. We're just going to chat a little bit. We're going to connect. And then the pressure is completely off you. It's also off them, because then they'll be able to have a really good time with you without having to feel like you're trying to sell them on something. You know, everybody wants to buy, but nobody wants to be sold. So it's a really great way for you to come into it really like fresh, fun, like, yeah, excited, because you're like, you don't know who they know. You know, I've met people who know very, very famous people, and you couldn't tell by their industry or anything like that how they're connected. And then they end up telling me, and I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. You don't know who they know. And then it becomes a fun game of, I want to increase my network. So what does that look like? Maybe increasing your network is being available, having something, what I call ethical bribe, to get them into your email list. You growing your network that way. There's so many different things that you can do. But if you can, that little shift of, no, it's not a sales call, it's a referral call. Like, oh, now I can have fun with this. I can just relax. I can just be myself. I can just show them what I do. That was really, really brilliant. There was something I wanted to touch on. You said that, and I hear this all the time, and I'm so glad that you say this, because I'm always like, you know, sometimes you know things, but you don't know why it makes you go, until, what is that phrase? When the student is ready, the teacher appears. You say, why do you say that we're taught wrong to lead with a value proposition?
So that goes back to the statement that we typically, what we've been taught in classic networking is when somebody says, who are you, what do you do? We've defined and we've memorized the value proposition. Or we've defined and we've memorized the 30-second pitch. The biggest problem with both of those, there's an inherent flaw in both the value proposition and the third thing. They both start with the word I or we. Right, so it goes back to the fact that people are not interested in who, when you're first introducing yourself, they're not really interested in you. They're interested in who you are and how you can serve them. So saying I or we sometimes throws people off. Sometimes what happens is, as humans, we sometimes end up putting on ourselves personal offers. Right, it could be because of the way somebody looks, or how they come up to us, or how we're introduced. Tell me something. You're guarded, and you don't hear as much. And so, if you've learned the 30-second elevator value proposition, you don't have to throw that out. That is typically the type of content that you want to incorporate into the Tell Me More. So that comes second. What comes first is your CPOP, your customer point of possibilities.
I love that. And it's so, I believe in divine timing. And I was like, there's something missing. And I knew that it was in like the description. And I was just like, well, it's close, but it's not it. So when you said that, I was like, oh, that's exactly what I do. And it encompasses everything that I did. So if you don't know, because you just popped in here, but we were having a little bit of trouble this morning and we almost didn't record because there was like some, tech gremlins and things like that. But I love that and I want to encourage you with this, that when you want to know the answer, be open. And only because some things might be distracting you or it might seem like it may not work out, don't get frustrated. Work through it. Because there is the answer for you on the other side of that. And had we both been like, well, just record another day, who knows if I wouldn't have gotten my answer, which is what I was seeking. And it's one of the things they say, what you're seeking is seeking you too. So I wanted clarity. And even though, I'm a clarity person, but this is why we need other people. We need other coaches. The most successful people in the world have many coaches on purpose. They have a very rich network on purpose because we only see in part. And so it is so vital for us to create and to connect with one another because their brilliance and their gift will add to your life and vice versa. So you have totally been a gift to me, Mitchell. I am so happy that we're able to do this because now I feel like, you don't understand how fired up I am at the moment. And with that,
you are so welcome. And by the way, when I'm done with this, I'd like you to share your CPOP. I want to feel the feeling when you share it. So I'm going to ask you what your CPOP after you do. But what I want to say to the audience who's listening, think about what just happened. Raquel is an expert on clarity on helping those spiritual entrepreneurs find and monetize their reason for being. And she personally came out and said, hey, I need clarity for me. That's a level of vulnerability. That's a level of being transparent in who she is that makes her that much more credible. Part of the time we've been taught that to say we don't know the answer is wrong, and that's not what we should do. The truth is that that's the opposite of the truth. Being authentic, showing who you really are, and being coachable is a component of being trustworthy. And so thank you for showing up in a way that you are actually demonstrating your credibility as you're having this conversation.
And from the guru, that means a lot to me. Master in that.
So, Raquel, what's your CPOP?
My CPOP is I help spiritual entrepreneurs monetize their reason for being.
All right. So, do you mind just a 15-minute coaching?
Yes.
So, typically what happens is you could start with just spiritual entrepreneurs. Or you could say something like the types of clients that are typically attracted to me. And then do a pause and share. When you say I help, you defeat the purpose of the CPOP because it's about you.
Oh.
And by the way, just to be clear, you did what you were taught.
Yes.
Right? Right. Says, it's
automatic.
Well, I don't care. I don't mean this. I don't care what you do. What I care is what playground you play. So for me, what I typically do is I line things up at the start. Spiritual entrepreneurs monetizing their reason for being. Or one of the other things you could say. What I often do is types of clients typically attracted to me. They'll do a second pause. Types of clients typically attracted to me. Businesses increasing ROI with operational credibility. Right, so I do a second pause at the beginning, second pause at the end, so the mic can drop. So how about you? Do you want to try it? Now, if I say what's your CPOP, not that people know what it is, but they now know because we talked about it. I say what's your CPOP, just start with spiritual entrepreneurs.
Spiritual entrepreneurs connect with me so I can assist them to monetize their reason for being.
Look at chat. We can take this. We can also take this offline, my friend. So, because there's too many things happening at once. But your CPOP is 7 words. Spiritual entrepreneurs monetizing their reason for being. I know what that means. I feel it. It's a beautiful playground. And you started talking about it, and explaining what you were doing with Agari. I'm like, that's it. That's your CPOP. That's the world you play. That's that playground to you.
Well,
so, by the way, what that leads to is, I'd love to see you and your fellow listeners in the Ultimate Credibility Bootcamp. And we run this once a quarter. The next time is March 3rd and 4th. But if you're listening to this after that time frame, just go to ultimatecredibilitybootcamp.com. And what we do is we help show up credibly in a way that person to person. So synchronously, whether or not you're physically in person or virtually in person, like you and I are actually doing now, on Zoom or some other platforms. And that is day one. We spend an entire day helping you show up credibly when you're in person. And then on day 2, we focus on asynchronously. How do you show up? How do you reinforce credibility on your website, on your social media? And so it is a powerful. We just finished a session, and everyone in the room was transformed. Now the real proof of the building is they transformed over time. But it was a really powerful session, and I'd love to see you there as well.
And again, the dates for that is March 3rd and 4th, 2023. Everything you need to know in order for you to connect with Mitchell is going to be wherever you're finding this particular podcast, even if it is in snippets. All the information will be easily accessible in the description box. And for those of you who are watching this on YouTube, everything you need is going to be in the description. I also put it as a pinned comment, so it's very easy for you to access. And the other places where him and I are connected, I will go ahead and add it at the bottom as well, so that way you can go ahead and just connect to him easily. So is there anything else that you would like to say before we wrap up tonight?
I would say for those who are entrepreneurs and you're super successful and you're making money and you're delivering on your soul's purpose. I keep doing it. Don't worry about getting big because people tell you bigger is better. For those who are starting out and making things happen, find a couple of people who you love who are doing things well. Find a couple of people who trust you and potentially ask if they'd like to mentor you. Find that person who's been there and done that, who can help you get through a couple of the hurdles that you may not see, because it's really hard to see for ourselves. At the end of the day, I have to tell you, if you call it sales and you think it's icky, don't call it sales, right? Call it the opportunity to meet and interact with some cool people who may actually end up wanting to buy or refer your service. And it it changes everything in a really positive way. And go out and be you, because we should love what we do on a day-to-day basis. And I'd love to see you do that as well.
If my mic would unmic. Thank you so much for being here with me, Mitchell. I really appreciate it. I know that everyone here who's been listening, see, it was important to the end. Everything up to the end was important for you. Thank you again for being here, Mindset Revolution with Raquel. I will see you next week. Bye now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.